Hello everybody. So you might be noticing a bit of a different background for me, and we're going to be kind of trying to work with that as well as making a few more changes to the podcast for, I bet you can guess if you read the copy from 2 weeks ago, season 4. Very excited. Like I said, we're definitely going to be trying to restructure how we do what we do, how we do the podcast, a few things here and there. If you have any suggestions, absolutely keep them coming. We do work to change, make updates, try to stay relevant, because that's the best way to reach our audience, right? And that kind of transitions into what I'm talking about today, which is making those changes so you stay reaching your audience. Now, why am I bringing this up today? Well, the holiday season, especially for those of you who are in social media, who have businesses, who are running that stuff, trying to get out content, then you probably know that social media during the holiday season is expensive. Running ads during these months up until like the end of December, or the like January, February area, is going to cost you a lot more than it usually would. And well, why is that, right? Because it's pretty simple. It's the holiday season, people are spending. So companies are trying to get in front of people more because they know that people are going to spend more. And it's not just toy companies. You think of it's toy companies and game companies. It's more than that. Because something that's coming up pretty soon, something that some people maybe even enjoy more than Thanksgiving, is Black Friday. And Black Friday is like the deals, right? All these businesses are trying to sell their new thing, roll out their product, get a ton of people buying stuff with either like a real or maybe not so actually good discount. Sometimes they are very good discounts, and you'll see people lined up around the block all over the place, right? But that in combination with things like, this is the season of gift giving, it means that things are expensive. Running advertisements are expensive. So, with that in mind, you might be wondering, well, how do I reach my audience? How do I get in front of people, right? Because you want to do that. That's important. That's important, just as important now as it is, in July. Well, the first thing I'll say is, for next year, because presumably you'll still be doing business stuff next year, make sure that you have your strategy figured out significantly ahead of time. Make sure that you're running those ads to get people doing the thing you want them to be doing and capturing that initial audience, right, in the months prior, in that June, July, maybe even going into August. So what you do is you run those ads, right? And you get that audience, you cultivate them, and that way when the holiday season comes around, you already have that audience that you can then go ahead and retarget or continue to run ads for based on their engagement, right? Now, a lot of platforms are changing, so you need to kind of be aware of what you can do and how you can do that on these platforms, like especially with Facebook. They're doing all sorts of rebranding, and part of that is how they do ads, how they do targeting. So that in combination with the holiday season is just it's gonna be tough to just totally reach an audience through ad spend. That's just the fact of the matter. So how do you do it then? How do you reach your audience? I will give you a very simple answer. The way that you reach your audience in the holiday season without breaking the bank is content. Putting out content, especially in combination with a robust ad budget, is going to help you reach your audience, is going to help you get to them, because organic content gets its own inherent promotion by these algorithms, right? Social media loves content, especially, variety, right? It varies by platform, but that short form video right now is just doing very well. So my recommendation to you, if you're like, John, I want to, try to keep ad costs down during the holiday season, what I would say and is organically put out that content. Also recognize that if you want to be getting the same results with less money, I'm sorry, but that's not how it works, And if you do still want to be running ads during the season, and it is going to cost you more, like that's just the fact of the matter. So on one end, you do need to recognize that running an ad, reaching the same audience, is going to cost you more money than it does several months ago. But people are in the spendy mood, and if you're trying to target people in the spendy mood, then it's worth the money. Companies like large corporations, they have certain benefits, right? They have certain kind of general brand awareness. They can do a lot more at a larger scale, but they recognize that sometimes you just have to adapt. You just have to adapt with it, right? You have to keep going. So, with all that being said, the last thing I will touch upon is where to start, right? You have all this information. You're like, okay, John, I'll bite the bullet. I'll still run ads. I won't totally pull the plug. But where do I start with this stuff? Very simple answer is make short form video. Long form video is better. Even something, when I say short form versus long form, short form is something under a minute, and that's going to kind of be applicable across most platforms most of the time, right? Just like a landscape video can do great. That being said, BB Digital App, the thing we talk about a lot is upcycling, So if you can get out some longer content, then you can translate that to more stuff, right? I always talk about upcycling. I always talk about how important that is. So if you're putting out put out content, of course, short form does a good job. Get on those platforms, get on Reels, get on, IGTV, get on the platforms that your audience are on. I've talked about that in other episodes. But don't discount long form video for how applicable it is, how many things you can do with it, and all the things you can break it down to. But the thing, if you just hear one thing this entire time, the thing that I will leave you with, this is what you need to do, is just put out content of some sort. If you're like, John, I don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, I just get so nervous, and I'm super critical, blah, blah, blah. I recognize that, the first time's not always going to be easy. If you go back to one of the early podcasts where it's just audio, I'm like, okay, you got this, John. And then I keep going with the thing, halfway through. And it's still there. But with time, you're going to get more comfortable in front of the camera. With time, you're going to kind of work out those kinks, and you're going to be a lot more confident. And people are going to appreciate that. But it's with time. But for the here and now, right now, you're like, that's all well and good, but it's November. What am I going to do, John? Just put out content consistently. On brand with your company, your organization, your products, etc. But just start getting that content out there, because that is your best way of doing it. That is your best way of getting started with all this. But if you'd like some help with that, if you have some questions about ad strategies or organic strategies, social media strategies, all that goodness, you can absolutely reach out. We'd love to help. You can go to bbdigitalapp.com. You can probably find our information on wherever you're watching this video. This, that, and the other, we'd love to help. And if you have any questions about, for me, any suggestions, I mean, like I said, this is season 4 of the BB&J podcast. So I'd love to be of assistance with that. Or any changes you think we benefit from. Absolutely. You can leave a comment here. You can go to bbdigitalapp.com/podcast, leave a question there. But other than that, like I said, I'd like to thank you so much for listening and or watching, and I will see you next week.